for the UNX News. Extraterrestrials, time anomalies, dimensions, remote viewing, UFOs, UAPs, and USOs, ghostly encounters, abductions, Bigfoot, and more. Your end of the week news source for everything unexplained. Here is your host for the UNX News Podcast, Margie K.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to UNX News. I'm your host, Margie K., and we are here every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. I'm glad you could join me this evening. Want to remind you to go to unxnetwork.com and get a free subscription there. And with that, you'll receive notices about shows every day, so you'll know what's coming on that evening. You'll also get a newsletter and a magazine, monthly magazine, digital, all free for subscribers. So go check that out at unxnetwork.com. And I just want to give you a little teaser about XCon next year. We are set for October 11th through the 13th in Springfield, Missouri. So be sure to mark your calendars and don't schedule anything else over that time because we have a great conference set up for you. All right. My guest for this evening is Lily Nova. She's a UFO and space photographer, contactee, CE5 practitioner, cosmic channel, and psychic. Her story and UFO footage has been featured on the Travel Channel and mainstream media all over the world. UFOs began visiting Lily during COVID while she was out shooting space photography, and she began documenting these close encounters with her camera, determined to capture evidence and discover who these visitors are. And we're going to hear all about that this evening. Welcome to the program, Lily.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, thank you so much. You say in your bio that you just started noticing these things during COVID. Is that correct?
Yeah, they just started popping up like very, very in your face suddenly. Like it was definitely a planned thing. It was just like a random night. I stepped out on my front porch and I had this big diamond shaped craft that appeared and started coming straight for me, went above my head and then disappeared. And then after that, I saw about 14 UFOs, close encounters within 2 weeks. And
Wow.
it was obnoxious. I was like, what the heck is going on? I had never seen one before that. So I actually discovered MUFON and contacted them, and they were kind of afraid for me.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, they were a little uneasy. They're like, this is abnormal. They said, you have a very peculiar case. And they asked me if I had been abducted, and I wasn't aware of anything like that. At the time, this seemed like friendly, like they were trying to show me something. So, so after that, it seemed like they were trying to get in front of my camera because I was out doing space photography all of the time, almost every night I spent outside. So I just started documenting them. And then from there, we built a relationship.
When did you start doing space photography?
Right in the beginning of COVID.
Oh, okay. So that became a new hobby for you.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of your pictures. They're really good. And we're going to see some here this evening.
Yeah.
I wonder, seeing that many UFOs in that shorter period of time, as an investigator for a lot of years, that is unusual.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this, as of late, I'd say the past year, a lot of people have started waking up and seeing and having a lot of experiences in a short period of time, especially younger people. It's almost like the younger people are on a fast track with this. Would you say that that's accurate?
I agree. Now, since I've started sharing my story and footage, because I had no idea what the heck was going on. And I thought, I didn't know what a starseed was. I didn't know anything about UFOs. I was open to it. So So yeah, I was just kind of learning very quickly as I went. But yeah, once I've started sharing my story, I do find a lot of people are having similar experiences since, this year or last year.
Do you have one of the first pictures that you were able to capture of a UFO?
Yeah, do you want me to go ahead and share that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and share my entire screen. You might have to add it up on there.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So let's see here. There is, okay, one of the first one. What's one of the first ones? So yeah, these two right here are one of the first ones. This one's pretty nuts. So let me give a little bit of context. My first experience was outside of my house, in my front yard, in the suburbs. And then a month or two went by where I didn't see anything. I feel like they were letting me integrate that, because then I was starting to, there was no mistake what it was. It was very, very close to me. I started looking into it. And then about a month or two later, in January, I had a crazy experience where I was up at the astronomy park by myself, and it was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm surrounded by cornfields, and suddenly I get like a feeling, and I look out the window. I was in my car with my car turned off. It was like pretty cold. I look out the window and I see a hovering light, and then I look in the other direction and I see another hovering light. And then I look behind me and I see two hovering lights behind me. And then I look in front of me and I see in the tree line hovering lights in the tree line.
Wow.
I was literally surrounded, and I was like, is this seriously happening right now? And I was afraid to start my car and leave, because at the time I didn't know if they knew I was there. I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I thought maybe I was just catching them doing their business. So I just started recording them, and I actually stayed up there until sunrise recording them. So I was surrounded by them for about 5 hours, because I didn't feel comfortable leaving, because I didn't want to draw attention to myself. So what I'm about to show you is the lights, the UFO or UFOs that were in front of me in the tree line. And you see a beam of light coming from it. This is one of my favorite ones. They literally gave me a light beam here. Beam of light.
Goodness. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, this was my second encounter. My second encounter was definitely the most intense.
Did you get any type of telepathic communication at that time?
I don't think that I knew of, but I do believe I was getting downloads and being like activated that whole time, because I wasn't fearful. I was more like curious. And I do feel like my consciousness was sort of expanding, but it wasn't any like direct. It was more like a download, like a feeling, not like words.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can show you another one that I got from that night. There were these orbs that came over into the field next to me. So it's kind of like hard to see, but basically these hovering lights are orbs of light, and they looked very strange, like the way the light was moving, like it didn't look like anything that we have. And at one point, one of the orbs splits into two. So you can't see it like super well, but so now I guess that's all three of them. So those are hovering in the field next to me, and it just turned into, that one turned into two.
Look, there's another one on the right.
Yep. Eventually, it ended up being 5. Eventually, there were 5 there. And those ones kind of weirded me out, because they were really close, and they were just kind of like rocking back and forth.
Did you get a sense that was one big craft or several small ones?
That's a good question. I didn't know what to believe. since it split into two, I don't know what would do that. I think maybe it would be multiple smaller ones, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Did you want me to go ahead and show some of the other stuff?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. All right. So my first, that was kind of the best of the footage that I got from before I really knew what was going on. Eventually, I did start receiving like answers from them. Like I was sitting at my desk one night and I was just like, why? I just like started looking up the stars and I'm like, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but why are you just showing up all of a sudden? Like, what do you want? Do you want me to share this with people? Because it was pretty obvious that they were letting me video them.
Mhm.
And I received a response. I was sitting at my desk and I asked, why are you contacting me? And I have a postcard with the famous painting where they're touching fingers. Like
Yeah.
I think it's maybe David and God are touching fingers.
Uh-huh.
And that was up on my wall and it literally flew off the wall and hit my foot. And I picked it up and I got in my head contact, like they wanted to make contact.
Oh, that is pretty awesome. Yeah, that's a direct message for sure.
Yeah, it almost gets me emotional just thinking back on it. It was a really big
Wow.
pivotal moment. So then I'm like, okay, they want to make contact. So then I started like talking to them, not really knowing much about telepathy and all that. And as I went, like my intuition got stronger and they started communicating with me through visions. So the first time that I went out to go make contact, like which you can call that CE5, human initiated contact, instead of them just randomly showing up while I was out, I went out with the intention. I was with somebody who I just met who is skilled in meditation and knew a lot about spirituality. I was like very new at the time. So we went out to go make contact. And within 5 minutes of setting the intention, getting out, a golden orb appeared. So that's the photo I'm going to show you next. And I asked it if I could take photos. And my friend's like, I think that's a yes. Like it was just kind of sitting there moving around. So again, it was dark. So not like the best, but a pretty clear. It was just this little golden orb that showed up.
Were you using night vision?
This wasn't night vision. This was with my DSLR camera.
Okay.
So I was taking photos with a longer exposure to try and collect as much light as possible because it was dark. And it was super cloudy. This golden, I think there were other ones too, but this was the most prominent one. And this little golden light, and if you kind of zoom in on it, it's kind of, you can see some squigglies in it. And then there's like a dent right here. I'm not sure what that is.
I've seen pictures of similar objects before, and I've taken some as well. They almost look like you're looking under a microscope at something microscopic. Some little bacteria or something. They're very strange, but there's the defined edges around it, and then different interior, and then sometimes there's that little part taken out of his side. There are a lot of pictures like that people have gotten.
Interesting. I wonder what that's all about.
Yeah.
So this was where my communication with them started to ramp up and I got a clue of who they were. My friend suggested, like I said, he was more, he knew a lot more about spirituality and meditation and stuff like that. And he suggested that I close my eye to get information that way, like with my third eye. I wasn't like psychic at the time. And whenever I closed my eyes, I received two visions. The first one was basically like a head of light with light going into the top of the head. And now I didn't know what that was at first, but now I understand it was a download, like being downloaded with information.
Yes.
And then the second vision I received was of the beings that were manning that. Oh crap, I didn't bring that one over. So I got a vision of the being, and it was a being with light blue skin and no hair, and a female, and she had a skin tight silver space uniform on, like Star Trek like, but like silver. and she was laying down on a table with her eyes closed. I was thinking at the time maybe she was like, controlling this orb with her mind or projecting her consciousness or whatever she was doing. It didn't feel like she was like dead. It felt like she was closing her eyes for a reason. And there were about 5 crewmates standing behind her with light blue skin in the same silver uniforms on. And they looked very human, just with light blue skin and no hair.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
you were not psychic. You didn't have any psychic experiences before all of this started.
Correct. I've always had like really good intuition and, just good, really good intuition. Like I can understand things, but I had never received visions before. I had never seen a ghost before. I had never really had anything like that. I've had like my dad and my grandmother speak to me through the radio through a song before, but that was like the extent of it.
Sounds like you were downloaded with some psychic abilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's why I like teaching people that this is something that you can activate now, but working with the star beings is incredibly potent. Just like how Val Thor gave you that like X-ray vision or whatever. That's basically what my star family did with me. They started activating all of these gifts and abilities, but then they started teaching me to meditate. So then they started showing me this third eye. I didn't know it was a third eye at first. I kept seeing this eye everywhere, in the clouds, everywhere I looked. I almost thought I was going crazy for a second. I'm like, everywhere I turn, I see this big eye. And I figured it was like, the eye of the creator. I'm getting downloads about how we create our own reality and how we're all connected. And then I realized, oh, they want me to work on my third eye. That's one of my gifts. So then I started meditating and meditating with the star beings. They would give me downloads and help me do this to help activate my DNA and activate new gifts and abilities. So I basically meditated like a monk for months and months. But yeah, I had a lot of help. They helped me a lot.
Yeah. Well, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's been exciting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And especially, if it's just been since COVID that you've been having these experiences, it's probably kind of overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm basically like, this is my full-time job now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my full-time job too.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. So
have you done any groups like CE5 contact with groups or anything?
Most of the time, like I've tried taking other people like locally, but they weren't really as open. Like some of my other astrophotographer friends and things like that. And they would never show up in front of other people. And I think it's really like a frequency thing. But I have done group CE5s at conferences. And then Katie Mabry, who might be in the chat right now, we set the intention out whenever we went to Mount Shasta back in July, and we got a ship that showed up and pulsed. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, a few times. A lot of these experiences have been alone though.
All right.
I guess I can show you guys some of my space photography real quick. These are some of my best.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is the Andromeda Galaxy.
I thought so. That is beautiful.
Isn't that crazy? That's taken with a 300 millimeter lens, which is almost like putting a little telescope on your camera. And you just take a bunch of photos and then you stack them all together. And yeah, there's another galaxy. There's 2 other galaxies right here too. There's one right there and one right there.
So you're not doing this through a telescope?
No.
Mm.
I have friends that do that, and you can get really. Luckily, the Andromeda Galaxy is actually pretty close. It's our closest neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
So just a 300 millimeter lens is good enough to get this photo.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need a huge telescope for it.
Yeah, that's just stunning.
Yeah, thank you. Space is just amazing. So I just fell in love with it, and I just became obsessed with space photography, and then, obsessed with UFOs too.
You can't have one without the other, right?
Yeah. And this is the Orion Nebula. It's underneath Orion's belt.
Yeah. Where is the little Orion Nebula? Within the upper part of that?
It's under the belt. So you got the 3 stars in the belt, and then you've got his feet. It's kind of between the belt and the feet.
Okay.
And if you can actually see this with your bare eyes, if you get some, not this detailed, of course, but if you get some binoculars, and you can look up in a sky map, Orion Nebula, and if you look at it with binoculars, you'll see a little smudge of light, and that's this.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is nice.
Yeah, I love the colors. The Orion Nebula is beautiful.
Yeah.
And this is the Pleiades.
No kidding. That is a good photo. Wow, you're really talented.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It took a lot of practice and a lot of patience. I don't do the space photography as much anymore, unfortunately, because I'm so busy with, meditation and other things.
And closer objects.
Yeah, exactly. The Milky Way, I didn't put any pictures in here too, but anybody can go see the Milky Way during the summer. That's pretty easy to capture a photo of. You with some of these phones, you can even photograph it now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay, so we got those. So since then, I was starting to initiate contact with them. Let me show you. This photo I took with my phone, and it's just crazy. There's
a light beam.
Yeah.
Is that what your thought is on that?
Yep, that's what I thought. But then, like months later, I realized, and I think there are other beings around in here. I think I was probably surrounded, but this is the one that came through the most. But then I zoomed in, and if you can almost see arms and legs.
Oh.
So I think it might actually be a group of beings.
That reminds me of that movie with Nicolas Cage where they showed the light beams and, they were elongated like that.
What movie is it? Do you remember?
Oh gosh. Knowing. It's called Knowing. If you haven't seen that, you've got to see it. It's fantastic. Yeah. Wow. No, that's definitely. They're showing themselves as small, but I'll bet they're not really small. That looks like a projection.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like just like with the orbs, that golden orb that I got on the first time I initiated contact, it was this small little orb, but I think they are projecting themselves, and it just looks small to us, but really it's it's not that. So that's just super fascinating how that works.
It is.
Yeah, so that's
now. Were you meditating before you took this picture?
This was around the time where I was meditating basically all of the time. There were some days where I literally just meditated all day. So I felt them around me a lot, and I didn't actually see anything with my own eyes right here, but I could feel beings around me. And I just got kind of the download, the nudge to take a picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are up on a break time.
Okay.
So we are going to just take a short break, and we'll be back right after this.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-fired heating and cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com. And we're back. I'm Margie K. This is UNX News, and my guest this evening is Lily Nova. Lily is telling us her amazing story and showing us some wonderful pictures. Let's pick up where we left off. You have what look like light beams in your room there.
Yeah, so I saw somebody in the chat say that the top of their head started tingling like crazy when I put this photo up. So that's actually one of the things that the ETs were telling me and teaching me, was that whenever the frequency carries on into the images. So even just looking at these images is helping to activate you.
Oh yeah, it's happening to me too right now. That's pretty amazing.
Oh my goodness, it's incredible. So incredible. So I wanted to show you a video that I took in Missouri back in July on my way home from Mount Shasta. I was sitting in an airplane. This was Kansas City. And I'm sitting in the airplane, and then I just kind of got, I wonder if Star Family is around. So I ask them, telepathically, are you guys around? I look out the window and I make contact with this, and they say, we're here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It looked like a huge square. My phone messes up.
Yeah, it looks like a huge square or rectangle. Wow. KCI Airport, huh?
Yep. And,
looks like it was moving.
Well, the plane was just starting to take off.
Okay.
I showed it to Tyler, and Tyler from Journey to Truth podcast, and he changed the edits a little bit. And this is his version to make it more, I guess, pop more.
Yeah, that sure doesn't look like a cloud. It's too defined. I'm surprised we didn't get any reports of that in Missouri MUFON.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to share that video more. I think I've only shared it on Facebook, but that's that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, if you want, I can share it on Kansas City MUFON.
Sure, yeah.
See if we get some reaction from that. If anyone else saw it.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, I got the date. Or I'll have to look up the exact date, but yeah, it was July 2023. Okay, so moving on, there was this park that I would go to. So I started basically had an arrangement with the UFOs and the beings I would go out every sunset to take videos and pictures and make contact with them. And whenever that would happen, they would basically activate me. I would feel immense love. I would get telepathic communication, and it was just an amazing experience. So I would go out with like every sunset, and I would set up my camera, and sometimes they would appear on the camera for me. Here's one of those, and this is in like a public park, which is crazy. Like a lot of these pictures and videos I caught in the suburbs, like, so it's just insane. I'm like, there's like people around like walking their dog and they have no idea that there's a ship right there.
Yeah. That's what I think all the time. So I'm with you.
I'm like, this is crazy. So I set up the camera to take pictures automatically on a time lapse. And then I got in front of the camera and I started like, meditating, sent out the invitation to make contact. And then I caught this little craft.
Oh.
Yeah, there's something else up there too. But it showed up in 3 photos. And I got a better picture of it. But it showed up in 3 photos and it looked different in each photo, almost like maybe it was like morphing. Here's kind of a little bit of a clearer picture of it.
That is very strange looking.
Yeah.
Sure doesn't look like a plane.
Yeah, I wonder what that big orange thing is. Maybe that's like an orange like glass or bubble or window.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's like moving. They're so fast.
Yeah.
So to capture photos like this, like they're really intentionally slowing. It's very intentional. So that's one. And then this was at the same park. Again, I set up the time lapse. You can see me walking and I asked them to show up in front of the camera. And then I caught this in one photo. And to me, it looks like 2 black triangles and maybe a portal opening up or something like that. What do you think, Margie?
Oh. First thing I thought of was a Millennium Falcon.
I love that ship.
Yeah. That's pretty cool looking, whatever it is.
And so I was taking pictures every second and it only showed up in this one photo. So usually, like, say if you've got like a plane flying by or a bird, you'd see it whenever you're going through the photos. You'd see it right here and then right here and then right here and then right here going across the screen. This was the only photo that was in. So I feel like they intentionally kind of like blipped into this dimension or uncloaked themselves or whatever and then popped back out just very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Just for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then I think I just got a couple others. This is a weird one that I took during an eclipse, I think. I need to find the original video. So it's a video of my phone recording my computer screen. But this happened in my front yard, my mom's front yard, actually. And you see this big, like, dark orb come into the screen. It was pretty, this is the biggest orb I've ever caught. So I noticed there were these spots on my camera. I'm like, what the heck's that? And I thought maybe it was my lens. I cleaned my lens and they were still there. And then watch this. What? What? I was not moving the camera. Yeah. So just a big dark spot.
Nice.
The energy was very intense that day. Like my camera even was like glitching out. I almost started to feel uncomfortable. It was during, I think, an eclipse, some sort of astrological event. And yeah, it was just, that day was very, very intense. So those astrological events, they really do help, I think, with making contact and with energies coming through.
We've got a question from the chat. What camera are you using and gear and lenses, etc.?
Yeah, so I use a Nikon D5300 DSLR camera. And I have two different lenses that I use a lot. One of them, the one where I get the close-ups, the really zoomed in, is the 300 millimeter lens. And then the other, I think, is 100. It's a more wide view. So that's like what I captured this with. Just standard lenses.
Okay.
Yeah, but a Nikon D5300. And some of these I caught on my phone too, like the light being. And then so I've got one more right here. So this was I discovered that you can point even with just your cell phone, you can point your phone to the sun, and I would go out and make contact, and suddenly, like, all of these light orbs, you can catch these light orbs, like tons of them sometimes. This day there were so many, and I had a really profound experience this day. And I felt it through my body before even like seeing it, because I reviewed the footage and saw all this happening, but I was having very intense physical reactions and mental reactions and spiritual and emotional reactions. And I went back and there's all of these golden orbs flying by, and I caught a really interesting looking orb. I call it the Rubik's Cube, because it moves in crazy geometric shapes. So I'll go ahead and play that. It comes up through here, and then you'll see a bunch of the little orbs, if you can, in the background near the sun and the light. So tons of orbs by the sun. The sun.
Yeah, that's very similar to what Bill Spicer has been doing since about 2010. He calls them fast movers, and we call them fast movers. And looking into the sun like that, or having something that blocks most of it, and that is a real easy way to see a lot of them.
Yeah.
So how much did you slow that down?
Ooh, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if I have the information.
Okay. Yeah, but when you slow it down, you can really see it. Wow. That's a really good capture.
Yeah, thank you. That's the best. I think that's the most peculiar orb I've ever caught. I've never caught anything that moved in those geometric shapes like that. It's just like spinning.
Yeah.
And the experience that I had during this was interesting enough, was with Thoth. Do you know who Thoth is?
No.
He's a spiritual being. He's known as like an ancient Egyptian god.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So not even, well, he probably is an extraterrestrial, but I had an experience with him during this, and it was so profound. And then and that was the last of it. Or actually, I've got one more picture I can show you. It was with him, and I felt this like whoosh of like power and expansion come over me, where like my consciousness expanded, and I felt my solar plexus expanding, and I started to realize like my power. It was extremely profound spiritual experience. And then I look back in the footage, and there's all that going on. So yeah, it was just a really interesting.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, pretty wild. And Thoth is known as an Atlantean too. And I found out that he's the one who told me that I've lived in Atlantis past lifetimes. So,
okay.
Yeah, so that's, and I didn't know anything about past lifetimes either before this. They just started showing me that. Here's one more picture. This is just a drawing that I made of a being that I saw through telepathic vision. She was a Pleiadian, a Nordic, but she had more brown hair. And so yeah, I just wanted to show you what she looked. Very human. She was very pretty. So that's just a depiction. That was from February 2022.
And you got a name too?
Yeah, a Hera. Yeah.
Have you been in touch with any hybrids?
Yes, I have. Well, I found out this past year, that I'm part of the hybrid program.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I kind of thought so. Yeah, you've as you know, you've been downloaded with a lot of knowledge in a short period of time, with information that usually takes people many, many years to gain. It's, at least 40 years, 50 years,
Wow.
60 years. Some people, they're 90 before they know all
Wow.
of this. So that's just amazing that you've been chosen to be, given this information. And what do you think your mission is going forward?
Well, I think it's evolving. At first, it was to share the footage, and I made a new TikTok account, and I started sharing the footage. And at the same time, this was how I started to realize this is all connected, and there was about to be a huge shift. At the same time, whenever I was starting to have all of these bombarding experiences, before I was communicating with them, but I'm seeing all these UFOs, like the next week, so I'm like, maybe that was just kind of like a strange, thing. Everybody thought I was just making it up, or I saw a drone or whatever. The next week in the COVID bill, there's a little tiny hidden piece that says that Congress or whatever, the government, whatever, the military has to hand over all of their information on UFOs. And that was hidden in the COVID bill. And I thought that was strange. And I was like, holy shit, this is actually going to happen. Disclosure is actually about to happen. And then now all of a sudden UFOs are in the news. It's a big deal. So I was at like the very beginning of that, right at the start, whenever that was starting to come to the mainstream. So I thought disclosure, sharing the footage. And then it became more about like psychic development and activating my DNA. And so on my YouTube channel, I do live activations and meditations where I help others activate their psychic gifts and activate their DNA. And just in the past year, I've discovered I'm also in the hybrid program. And I've also discovered that I've taken part in SSP, secret space programs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just evolving. I think, I don't know. I think there's a lot of moving pieces, but to help people connect with their star family was kind of like, and, share evidence. But now I feel like it's becoming kind of growing into something else, something deeper than I'd ever imagined.
How did you find out that you are a hybrid?
Well, whenever I first started sharing all this footage, I was on Coast to Coast with George Noory, and somebody called in and they said, you're an alien, right? And I kept hearing that, and it felt kind of like, am I? And then I started to like discover more about it. I think I discovered that my family has, my mom's side and my dad's side has also been involved with this. So I think they genetically alter and enhance some families, or it kind of runs in the family. So those were kind of clues. And then the first night that I realized that it was the hybrid program, they didn't tell me that I was part of the hybrid program at first. I looked up at the sky and I saw silhouettes of multiple beings. And I heard in my head, these are your hybrid brothers and sisters.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, excuse me?
Yeah. Now, what about the secret space program? What do you know about that?
Man, oh my gosh, like I'm learning about that. That just kind of came up and smacked me right in the face, honestly. Um, I met found out about Tyler and Aaron through a mutual YouTube friend, and they're local. They live in St. Louis too. And I was like, holy crap, that can't be a coincidence. So they had the Secret Space Program conference the year before last. I had no idea what the Secret Space Program was. Absolutely no idea. And I went to the conference and I was just so shaken up by hearing people's testimonials. And I was very triggered by it. And I was like, did this happen to me? And it took me a while, honestly, probably like 6 months or so to come to the understanding and admit to myself that I had been a part of something a malevolent program. I think I've also taken part in positive programs, but so my star family, the first one that I saw, the light blue being that I told you about, who came in the golden orb, she started showing me, helping me to access memories. So yeah, so I've had quite a few memories of them. Like I've had a memory of being on the moon. I've had a memory of being on a spaceship with other people, and we were going to the moon. And then I've had a memory of being on the moon, but being like hooked up to like IVs, and I think they were doing something with my blood. I've had a few memories being in deep underground military bases, but just kind of like a second of it. I've had a memory come up of being like a child and laying down in like a gown, and then there were on like these, it was like in a medical setting, and there were other ones there. And then I've also had some memories of like a memory of being kind of like it looked like a combat person, like being in combat or like a, yeah. So I'm still putting the pieces together on that, but that's kind of what that's the gist of what I've gathered so far.
There's this big awakening happening right now with regards to that secret space program.
Yeah.
And I just recently confirmed that I was involved in it and may still be, but also my brother. And we just didn't have a clue about my brother until like a month ago.
Wow.
And it's crazy how many people are realizing that they've been involved in this. And what is, I mean, one of the things they do is actually use people at night when they think they're going to sleep. They get up and they go to work for the military. Then they go back home, get a couple hours sleep, and the next day they're dead tired. And, you know, there's no reason for it. But they have no memory of what they've done through the night. And it's almost like slavery, really, you know, getting free labor.
It is.
And this, you know, mind control, this stuff is not right.
Mm-mm.
Nobody should be able to control you and use mind control and use you for slave labor. That's just wrong. And I think the more people who wake up to this and speak out about it, the more that they will be more likely to stop these programs, because I don't think that they don't have total control over your memories. They will eventually come out. And so we can only hope that that's the case.
Right.
So you have a YouTube channel. What is the name of the channel?
It's Lily Nova Starseed.
Okay. So definitely want people to check that out. And I love how you're doing the photography and the you know, telepathy beforehand, meditation, asking them to come forward, and they do. And so your photography work is excellent, and that's great when you want to see UFOs, to have somebody that knows what they're doing behind the camera.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, you can, if you have a cell phone, you can get photos, but it's not nearly as good with a good camera. So that's fantastic. And really like the work you're doing, and coming forward and coming out and speaking about it. And the fact that you're a young person doing this, is fantastic, because for so many years it has been older people that have been involved, and that are, you know, are given credit for these things, but you've got everything dumped on you at once.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and you're out there with it, so I thank you for that. That's it's really nice.
Thank you. I appreciate, and I really look up to you and like your gifts and abilities and everything that you're doing. I really appreciate what you're doing. Like I said, whenever I interviewed you on my show, whenever I heard your story at the Journey to Truth conference, I was like, oh my God, Margie's amazing. So thank you for
Yeah,
everything
well,
that you're doing.
thank you. I appreciate that. We're all doing our part. We all have a job, I found out, right?
Yeah.
And we,
Yeah.
you know, and you can't really fight it, because they'll keep hammering at you until you finally agree, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no running
So,
from it.
yeah, we all have our job to do.
Yeah, it's been fun though. It's been a blessing, and I call what I've been through Starseed Boot Camp, where basically I just got turned on and hit with everything. Boom, 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 boom. And a lot of healing work and stuff went into that too, as I'm sure you know. You know, spiritual evolution and healing work and practicing and activating your psychic abilities, all of that, developing that communication and connection. But it's been a real blessing. It's really opened my eyes to the beauty in the world and universe, as well as the darkness, like coming across the discovering the SSP information this past year and all of that. So yeah, just the work that we're doing is incredibly important.
It is. So, yeah, do keep it up, and keep in touch. And
Thank you.
I hope you'll come back again pretty soon so we can get updates.
Yeah.
I know you're going to get some more fantastic photos, so looking forward to that.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you, Lily. See you next time. All right. Lily Nova, folks. She's just amazing. And I encourage you to go check her website out, check out her YouTube channel. And you know, this is another person who's been activated. And once you're activated, all of these things, like she just said, happen. They all occur. I mean, telepathy, healing abilities, psychic abilities, you just get slammed with it, and become a different person, and that actually becoming the real person that you are. So look forward to that if you haven't experienced all of that. And if you have experienced it, please let me know. I would like to hear about it. Just send an email to me at margiek1111@gmail.com, or you can always get to me through the KUNX website at unxnetwork.com. So with that, we will finish up this evening, and I'll see you again next time.